Uh, Good afternoon, good evening, and good morning to everybody.
Good evening, Bhante.
Good evening, Bhante and everyone.
Wishing you a happy Vesak time. I think it's already passed on your side, but in Sri Lanka and in some other places, they are still spending Vesak Day. So, as you understand that today we are going to have a special class with OPRC. Today's class will not be the regular class. It's going to be on answering questions about the life of the Buddha, which is a pretty large area, but we have already received 28 questions, and we'll be taking up some more questions as time permits. So, Vesak Day, the most important day to most of us, and Buddha himself expected us to think about how he went through his sansaric journey for many incalculable lifetimes. He himself told in the Mahaparinibbana Sutta that those of them who respect me only with flowers and other things, who are only merely offering me flowers, are not the true followers of my sasana. He said that those of them who would like to follow what I have found out, especially the teachings of how to dispel the darkness of greed, hatred, and delusion, and how to become kinder, how to become wiser, how to become more patient, and all these good qualities, and then finally, thereby making one's own way to Nibbana, would be the true followers. Doesn't mean that we are going to underscore about offerings. We still have to keep up with our offerings. We're going to do it. But the most important part to think about on this kind of a day is to whether we are truly following what he said. That is the purpose of our OPRC class and the purpose of your classes, retreats, and all that. And we are once again pledging to the Buddha that we are grateful to your teachings, and we are making sure that we are truly following the true teachings of you, and then to make the best out of your endeavors, enterprising endeavors. With that in mind, let's pay respect to the Buddha and then get started our Q&A for today. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Namo tassa bhagavatu arahatu samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavatu arahatu samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavatu arahatu samma sambuddhassa. Life of the Buddha, which is one of the very debatable topic in the Buddhist teachings. As of those who study Pali text, do we have a complete biography of the Buddha? What do you think? You might perhaps look at certain suttas, but you won't be able to find out a complete Buddha's biography. That's why we will also have to look at, not today, just for the additional knowledge, certain other texts from the Buddhist traditions. One of the very important works, we would say, a complete Buddha's biography can be seen in one of the Sarvastivadi's book called Lalita Vistara. But this book is actually in Sanskrit. And there are certain teachings that we do not find very familiar with our Pali teachings. And also the book called Mahavastu, written by, made by Mahasamgikas, the earliest sect of the Mahayana in India. This is also another account. So these two works have certain complete information about the Buddha. But as they develop at a later time after Buddha's passing, we cannot rely on all those information, even the information we know from the Pali text. So with that in mind, let's take a look at the questions for today. And I also want to tell you what are the places of Pali text where you can find out the Buddha's life. Have you ever thought that the Buddha, Shakyamuni Buddha himself, narrated his own biography? We call it autobiography. Yes, he did. There's a sutta called Ariya Pariyesana Sutta, Majjhima Nikaya 26. I'm going to type it for you so you can read later on. We've got time. Ariya Pariyesana Sutta. This is going to be Majjhima Nikaya's 26. All right. So there are other suttas like Mahapadana Sutta, Digha Nikaya 40, Acharya Buddham Sutta, Majjhima Nikaya 123, and Mahasachika Sutta, Majjhima Nikaya 36. Probably I'm going to share all those suttas later as we discuss. But now let's take a look at the questions. Right. Okay, the first question. Did Prince Siddhartha abandon his wife without informing her? Is this a real incident? All right. Now, how do we answer this question? We have to answer this question based on a text and then certain common sense at the same time from some scholarly thoughts. Now, most of the stories, I would say most of the books, writers, they have written that Prince Siddhartha left the house, left the palace without telling anybody. How many of you had heard this story that way? Prince Siddhartha left the house without telling anybody. Is this what you know? This could be the normal way that many people are explaining. But the truth is that he did not leave the house without telling anybody. He didn't have to. And if you go to Mahasachika Sutta, Ariya Pariyesana Sutta, you will understand that he left the house by having informed his parents and others that he's leaving. He will be leaving the house. So it's not a fact that he left the house without informing others. He didn't have to. But for some reasons, writers, in particular in Sri Lanka, I think, most of the textbooks that are being studied by students in the high schools and Dhamma schools, they were reading this that way. But in the text, it is said that he left the house by informing parents and the relevant people. We call it in Pali, Mata Pitusu Rudantesu. The Pali one is Mata Pitusu Rudantesu. While he left the house, during the time, his mother, father, and the rest are mourning, crying over his departure. He didn't have to go unnoticed. He didn't have to go without telling his beloved ones. So, what we have to say to this answer, the question is that he left the house by informing the relevant ones, including the wife. All right. How do we go through probably the rest? Probably I would suggest if you have any questions about this, because if I go over 15, 16, 17 questions, we might not be able to come back to this question again. So any questions regarding this? Any thoughts? Any follow-up questions? Yes, Susan, please go ahead.
Thank you. I heard or read that his wife was asleep and he went to view her and his child before he left.
Pardon me?
I understand that he did go to view his wife while she was asleep before he left, and his child. Is that part of
Though
the...
actually those what you call small details are not given in the text. They could be mostly projections and suggestions by the writers. You don't see such things, how he left the chamber, and we don't see anything like that. The only thing we see is that he left everybody informed about his departure. So I mean that says that everybody was informed. The right ones, I mean the relevant people were informed. So he didn't have to go secretly from the chamber. Yeah. Any other question about this question? All right, if not, we're going to go to the next question. So you can keep your questions. Right. Why did Prince Siddhartha have to go through so many teachers and waste his 6 years as an ascetic? If as a bodhisattva, he fulfilled so many paramis. Interesting question too. Now, if he was meant to become the Buddha, why he had to go here and there, right? Okay, this is the answer for that. Although he practiced paramitas, he completed all the paramitas. How many paramitas did he complete? Any thoughts? He completed 30 paramitas. 30. Dana, Sila, Nekkhamma, Panya, Viriya, Kanti, Satcha, Adhitthana, Metta, Upekkha. So these paramitas were fulfilled by him in 3 ways. So 10 multiplied by 3, you see the equal as 30. So he not only performed Dana Parami as a Dana Parami, he also practiced Dana as a Dana Upaparami and Dana Paramatta Parami. So are the rest. Now, say for instance, Dana, generosity. It is said that being able to give external things to other people is called as Dana Parami. Bahira Banda Parichago Dana Parami. Maybe food, maybe things you own, that is called Dana Parami. And Dana Upaparami means Anga Parichago Nama Dana Upaparami. Means being able to probably be an organ donor, maybe being a part of a blood donation. These are kind of not easy things for many people to be generous. So this is called Dana Upaparami. And Dana Paramatta Parami means that he sacrificed even his life. He jeopardized his life to be generous for other beings. It's called Dana Paramatta. You should not misunderstand this to be a suicide. It is much more than a suicide. So he completed all the paramitas in 3 ways. Even Sila, even Nekkhamma. So then why, having done all these paramitas, 30 paramitas, why he had to go through normal teachers? Now, who is the first teacher he consulted? Alarakalam. Alarakalam. Now, when he went to Alarakalam, he understood that Alarakalam has developed a jhana. That jhana is called Akinchanyayata. Right? That means there is nothing. Close to the emptiness. Right? At the end, there is nothing, right? I mean, if you look at things in their entirety, and he understood and he was able to come to that point. But then Alarakalam asked him, now you have come to the same wisdom as I am. And then can we share our students and teach? He said, no, I have to go ahead. I have to move towards my own liberation. He left the place. And then he found out another teacher, Uddaka Ramaputta. Then he approached him. And under him, he was able to develop another level of the jhana. We call it Neva Sanya, Na Sanyayat, which means neither perception, the jhana on the neither perception and neither perception. So he was able to come to that jhanic state too. he also asked the same thing, can we share our student? He said, no, I want to go further. Actually, if he stayed with them, he would have never become the Buddha, right? He would have, in our life, same thing happens, right? Sometimes we are with some people, but we don't think that we can go further in our practice, right? So he left even Uddakaram, and then he approached 5 ascetics. Now, actually, the meeting of the 5 ascetics is not really mentioned in many suttas. You see the 5 ascetics in the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta and the Mahavaggapalis, the number of years, 6 years of time of his, spending ascetic practices. So just because he had all the good karma, it didn't mean to him that he is going to make a straight line to becoming the Buddha. So he had to understand life, the contemporary pre-Buddhist practices, and then he understood, no, this is not for me, and I have to go further. I have to understand by myself. Somebody asked a question down the line here today. What is the meaning of Samma Sambuddha and Buddha? And you see Samma Sambuddha means self-enlightenment, self-awakening. How to get the self-awakening without going through the contemporary practices at that time? That's why he had to practice those things. During the time he practiced the ascetic, practices like Nigantas, he was almost going to die, and then he understood pain is not the answer to the happiness. There are people who think that the more I go through pain, the happier I will become. That's an old theory. But in Buddhism, Buddha never says that the pain could give you happiness. He adamantly told James Nigantas that in one sutta, when he was passing by some groups of Nigantas, he asked Nigantas, what are you doing in this midday? And they said, Gautama, they wrote Gautama, we are giving a lot of pain to the body. Then the Buddha asked, why are you giving pain to the body? We are not eating, we are not taking a shower for many years, and we are exposed into the sun, this hot sun. And then they said to the Buddha, our teacher, the Mahavira, Nigantanath Buddha told us, the more you give pain to the body, the happier or the closer you become to the enlightenment. At the same time, you are paying off your bad karmas you may have done in your past life and this life. But that's a funny question. How much bad karmas have you already paid off? Is it? We don't know. So Buddha never believes that pain can give you happiness unless you find out the proper practice. So the reason why he went through all the existing practices at the time of his search was that he was finally going to attain a Sambodhi, I would say, Buddhahood by himself. So he had to have a hands-on experience about all these practices, very, what you call, major practices. That's why he had to go through all that. Third question. According to Itipiso, what is the difference between Samma Sambuddho and Buddha? What is the meaning of Bhagavan? So the person asks about the difference between Samma Sambuddha, Buddha, and Bhagavan. Actually, this is more about asking an explanation about the tree of the great qualities of the Buddha. Okay, what does Samma Sambuddha means? I just shared with you a thought about it. Samma Sambuddha means someone who attains Samma Sambuddhahood by himself. Is there anybody else who is attaining Samma Sambuddhahood by himself? Any thoughts? Pacceka Buddha. Pacceka Buddha also attaining Samma Sambuddhahood in his own. But there is a problem with his Samma Sambuddha. Pacceka Buddha doesn't know how to teach Dhamma to other people. Whereas the Samma Sambuddhas know how to conceptualize the Dhamma. Say, for instance, 5 aggregates, Noble Eightfold Path, Four Noble Truths, Seven Bojjhangas. These are concepts. These are not permanent Dhamma things. So Pacceka Buddhas do not conceptualize, do not know how to teach. If you don't conceptualize, you don't know how to teach. Whereas the Samma Sambuddhas, that is why Samma Sambuddha, all those Samma Sambuddhas and Pacceka Buddhas, they both attain self-enlightenment. But Samma Sambuddhas have a special bearing. That bearing is that they can teach, they can conceptualize, they can put Dhamma into concepts. So the Buddha is called as Samma Sambuddha because he is self-enlightened, self-awakened. At the same time, he can conceptualize his Dhamma teachings for the benefit of many listeners across the universe. Then Samma Sambuddha. Bhagava. Bhagava means someone who permanently uprooted raga, dosa, greed, hatred, and delusion. Now there are translations that go by lucky one, blessed one. Bhagava means lucky one, blessed one. But Bhagava literally means that someone who uprooted raga or lobha, dosa, moha. That's why it is said that when you think about the Buddha, your raga has to go down, your lobha has to go down by thinking about it. Your anger has to go down, your moha has to go down. Because the person I'm thinking at that moment is someone who has no raga permanently, who has no dosa permanently, who has no moha permanently. Right? So Bhagava means someone who uprooted raga dosa, lobha dosa. Then Buddho. Buddho means someone who has understood what is to be understood, who has given up what is to be given up, who has realized what is to be realized, who has practiced what is to be practiced. Abhinyayam abhinyatam, bhavetabam cha bhavitam, pahatabam pahinangvi, tasma buddhosmi brahma. This is a Pali stanza which was given by the Buddha in one sutta. So, Samma Sambuddha, Bhagava, Buddha, they carry separate meanings. They are not carrying one meaning. So when you say Samma Sambuddha, it is in the context of a certain thing that you need to understand Buddha. When you say Buddha, it is a common name even to Pacceka Buddha, Arahants as well. But here Buddha means a separate context of the Samma Sambuddha. Bhagava is one and only term for the Samma Sambuddha. It is not even common to Pacceka Buddhas. All right, any questions about this as a follow-up question?
Sorry, Bhante, could you repeat what you have spoken about Buddha? What does it mean again? Can you repeat again?
Okay. In one sutta, Buddha told one Brahmin who the Buddha is. The Pali word Buddha in terms of a Samma Sambuddha, because the Pali word Buddha can be used to recognize Arahant also, Arahanta Buddha, Savaka Buddha, then Pacceka Buddha. But the specific meaning of the Buddha in terms of a Samma Sambuddha means someone who understood what is to be understood. You could say Four Noble Truths. Then who realize what is to be realized. That means the same, the development of progress of the Four Noble Truths, that part, Eightfold Noble Path. Who gave up what is to be given up. That means Tanha, Pahatabam Pahinam. So this is the context of Buddha that has to be taken considered for the Samma Sambuddha. Make sense? Any other follow-up questions? If not, we're going to go. Yes, Indra, please go ahead.
Thank you, Bhante. Is it true that Pacceka Buddha fulfills 20 paramis and Arahant fulfill 10 paramis?
10. Yes. So Arahants, if you want to become an Arahant, I'm not trying to make you lazy. If you want to become an Arahant, you need to perform 10 paramis. If you want to become a Pacceka Buddha, another 10, 20. You want to become a Samma Sambuddha, 30 part.
Thank you, Bhante.
Yeah, it is said because they. How do we understand that? Let's take Dana Parami. Only Arahants perform the first part of the Dana Parami. That's just the Dana Parami. If you want to become a Pacheka Buddha, you're gonna perform Dana Parami, Dana Papara. They don't sacrifice their life for a worthy cause. But if you want to become a Samma Sambuddha, you are supposed to practice Dana Parami, Dana Paparami, Dana Parami. That is why certain Theravada teachers' books, they discourage to become the Samma Sambuddha. I said, no, go ahead. Who knows whether you have any hidden potential to become a Samma Sambuddha? You can become a Bodhisattva, like in Mahayana. They say there are many Bodhisattvas. You have the Bodhicitta, I have the Bodhicitta, so I don't have to talk bad about you. That's good, right? Isn't it? Now, when you work with other people, we have to respect other people. Now, in Mahayana, they say, I have the Bodhicitta, you have the Bodhicitta. Even the animals also have the Bodhicitta. One day, not in this life. So we don't need to blame each other. We don't need to criticize each other because you can become a Samma Sambuddha one day. You're both Samma. Right? I think that's a good way of looking at it. So this is how we understand the difference between those great qualities of the Buddha. Let's go to the next question. Probably we're gonna speed up a little bit. How many years did Prince Siddhartha suffered from the two extremes? Suffered. Probably not a good way of giving that. I could say Prince Siddhartha, it is said that he spent 6 years of what you call Attakilamattana yoga practices. But we don't see the number in most suttas. So we have to find out where this number comes from, how it became 6 years. But anyways, we know that he spent very rigorous Attakilamattana yoga practices with the help of the 5 monks. It is said that when he wanted to touch his belly, he almost touched his back. Then he, at a certain point, rejected eating the whole day. He did all the things. So he enormously practiced Attakilamattana, which he himself understood, this will never take me to Nibbana, Buddha. And then now the question, the other side of the question is, how or when, during which times he practiced the Kamasukallikana. He practiced that sensual indulgence that much during his lay life. So, as you understand, he was married to Yashodhara, and then he left the palace when he was around 29 years old. So all the way he practiced Kamasukallikana.
Think I go for lunch, Dana.
So we couldn't say that he suffered. I think he experienced the both. I think because of the Kamasukallikana yoga, he understood that I have to go on this search. And then in that search, he first went through the Attakilamattana. Actually, it is very similar to many people's Dhamma journey. When someone starts Dhamma journey, most of them think that I have to more focus on the Sila part, isn't it? More to the Sila, more to the morality. But we should not pick up Sila in the wrong way. Why is it? If you take the Sila in the wrong way, you will end up with Silabbata Paramas. That means you will cling to the certain rites and rituals. Sila is there for us to start off our Dhamma journey, but not to end up. Do not end up in the Sila, because we still have a couple other things to do. Samadhi has to be done. We need to do work on our Cheto Vimukti, practice some reflections, and then some attaining some, what you call, freeing the mind practices, mindfulness, and then thereby we are creating wisdom. But if you end up with the Sila, you will not go to Samadhi, and you will never go to Panya, wisdom. That's why the journey that Prince Siddhartha followed to become the Buddha And most of the normal devotees' journey to the Nibbana look similar because they all start with the Sila part. But for some reasons, Prince Siddhartha, ascetic Siddhartha, understands this type of painful life will never take me to Nibbana. So I have to change. I have to find out a balancing out path. That was the Noble Eightfold Path. So the answer to this question is that 6 years. And if you are concerned about how many years he has been practicing, enjoying the Kamasukallikan Yoga, I would say the time that he spent in his lay life. Is it a myth that baby Siddhartha walked 7 steps after birth or something else? Now, when we deal with these kinds of questions, we have to keep something in mind. Okay. Now, I'm not trying to say that you have to believe that he walked on 7 steps on a lotus, or lotus came, he bloomed, or he did not. What I'm trying to say is that, what do you think about our consciousness, our ability to see through everything that is surrounding us? Can we see ghosts? Can we see certain other even tiny creatures in our life? We don't have that capacity unless you might grab a microscope. You might see certain tiny creatures. So there are certain things we might not be able to understand through our normal perception, through our normal regular consciousness. So what we hear from the Acharya Abhutadhamma Sutta, this is going to be Majjhima Nikaya's 123, 123 Sutta. It is said that once he was reborn, and then he had certain wonderful, miraculous, marvelous things happening at that point. Those are marvelous and wonderful things that happened to him. We might not be able to understand them just from a normal consciousness, normal perception. Now, even this example, he was first received by the Suddhavasa Brahmas when he was reborn. Even Devas cannot touch him. Only the Suddhavasa Brahmas received him from the mother. And then they hand him over to the 4 guardian Devas. Dataratta Viruda Virupaka Vesam. And those Devas are giving the baby to the humans. Right? So there is a gradual way how he was given. And then once he was born, it is said that he walks on 7 steps. It is not said that he is walking on the lotuses. It is said that when he is walking, lotuses are blooming. That is how we understand in the sutta. When he is walking, because of the power of his paramitas, lotuses started blooming. We don't know how big were they, but it is said that because of that, because of his what you call paramis, the perfection of the parami, nothing else, because of his paramis, completeness of the paramis, those lotuses were blooming. So what I can say is that according to the suttas and our common sense, this couldn't be something we cannot believe. Probably this could have happened in a different way, maybe a very minimal way. These will happen because he went for 7 strides, and then he started talking about something, that he's the greatest, he's the most exquisite, and then this will be his last life. So I wouldn't think that this is a myth. This is something that could have happened in a different way. So not in the way that you understand, but it is not a very mythical thing to believe that when someone is walking, lotuses started blooming. I don't think it's something that is a miracle. I think it could happen in a way because of his completeness of the parami. That is what I can say about that question. Right? Question number 6. Is it true that Prince Siddhartha left home at night? Where does it refer to? All right. We have no proof that what time he left the palace. What we know in the suttas is that he left the house by informing the relevant individuals, mother, father. Mother means Mahapajapati, and then King Suttotana. And wife, definitely. He had no reason to leave wife without telling him, because she's the one who's going to take care of the baby as well. So it could be a night, mostly could be early morning, but we don't see any textual information that exactly this was the time he left. But if you look at the story, how Channa and Kantaka took him to the river and that side, it could be an early morning and he left the palace. All Buddha's disciples and bhikkhus shaved their hair, but not the Buddha. Why? Was it his actual hairstyle which looked spiral bolts? Now, if you look at any Buddha statue, even the Buddha statue that you have in your house, I think that all those Buddhas carry certain amount of hair, isn't it? They do. But if you look at suttas like Lakkana Sutta in the Dika Nikaya, where you see the 32 body parts of the Buddha, in many other places, Buddha is not someone who is letting hair grow in his body. At the same time, he asks his disciples to shave their hair. Then how come he had hair? It is because something happened when the Buddha statue industry was started in India. We understand the Buddha statues were mostly started during the, I would say, during the Gandhara time. The Gandhara means Afghanistan today. So this Gandhara time, there were two main traditions of Buddha statue started off. What were they? Gandhara and Mathura. Gandhara style of the Buddha statue and Mathura style of the Buddha statue. So when they were sculpturing the Buddha statue, they based on certain Greek statues that were available at that time in Greece. As we understand, when the Buddha was living in India, there were certain philosophers were living in Greece at that time, probably Socrates and those philosophers. And they were respecting Greek goddesses. It is said that when you sculpture someone like this, Buddha, without hair, you don't feel like this could be a great person. So what they did was they brought the hair part from the Greek goddesses, and then they added the other parts from the Jain culture. If you can look it up on the Nigantanataputta now on internet, if you not now, maybe later, just type in Mahavira, you see the same statue of the Gautama Buddha. So this means why the Buddha had hairs like spiral balls. It is because these sculptures, they based on creating sculpturing Buddha statues from the Greek sculpture. That's why. Otherwise, he shouldn't have hair. Right? And then when the Buddha statue went to other countries, if you go to Korea, South Korea, you see the Buddha statue. The Buddha seems a little bit daunting, like a little bit aggressive, the Korean Buddha, South Korean Buddha. If you see the Buddha statue in Kamakura, in Japan, you see a little bit different. You see Thai Buddha statue, Sri Lankan. Why they are different? Because when the Buddha statue went to different countries, the sculptures of those countries were sculpturing the Buddha statue based on the most beautiful man in that country, looking at, thinking in that culture. So there are differences based on the appearance of the Buddha statue. But your question is about the hair. Hair was like that because the mainstream Buddha statue cultures, which came from Gandhara, Mathura, they based on sculpturing Buddha statues from the Greek culture. That's why otherwise there shouldn't have any hair on the Buddha statue. Now, where is the problem now? Is it the problem of the Gandhara, Mathura industries, or is it our problem? Is it our problem? Because if we don't read the suttas, we never understand who the Buddha was. That's why we are making a tiny bit of effort to tell you. Read some of the very major suttas and understand the Buddha from the teaching, and then to look at the cultural version of the Buddha that you see in many countries. And we respect that too, but we understand why he got him. It's because of those industries. After enlightenment, is it true that Buddha possesses several supernatural power by meditating? It is no question. When he became the Buddha, we understand he attained three knowledges. He was able to develop three knowledges. We call it what we call Pubbe Nivasanusati Jnana. That's early night, and midnight Chutupapata Jnana. Then the early morning, probably late morning, in the morning, probably mostly, Asavakya Jnana. Pubbe Nivasanusati Jnana means he was able to see the previous lives of anybody. He can understand any life of anybody before. And then he could understand what time somebody's going to pass away, Chutupapata, and where he or she's going to be reborn. And then finally he comes to the Asavakya. These are the Tivijja, we call it Tivijja, the three main knowledges. But in addition to these three knowledges, he had developed 6 more knowledges. We call them as Vijja Charana Sampan. Itipiso Bhagava Arahan Samma Sambuddho. Vijja Charana Sampan. Vijja means 8 knowledges. Out of these 8, 3 are about those 3. Ubbe Nivasanusati knowledge, Chutupapata knowledge, Asavakya. So definitely there were lots of knowledges, mainly 3 knowledges with the Asavakya means extinction of all the asaras. Number 9. It said that Maras tried to abort Siddhartha's Aditthana before he attained Buddhahood. Maras. Were the Maras real and physically present, or it was the intensity of killings appearing as Maras? Very interesting. Huh? Now, when the ascetic Siddhartha was going to attain Samma Sambuddhahood, Mara as a person, we call this Mara as Vasavatti Mara, did not like that he would become the Buddha, Samma Sambuddha. The main reason was that once he became the Samma Sambuddha, he would start teaching Dhamma to many people. Thereby, many people will disappear from this sensual world, which was not his, not in the best interest of the Mara. So he sent his 10 army. It is said that he sent 10 armies, Kama, Arati, Kuppipasa. Even hunger is an enemy of the Mara, it is said. Our hunger, right? So if you cannot take care of your hunger, that means you are highly troubled by the Mara. Sometimes you can't take care of your hunger. You feel that you want to eat, drink, right? So there are 10 enemies of the Mara. So when the 10 Maras could not abort, his 10 armies could not abort ascetic Siddhartha, he sent his 3 daughters, Tanharati Raga. And then he understood he's a very solid person. His mind cannot be turned away. And then he was trying to do certain other things. So now the question is whether he's an individual or a concept. Both. There is both. Because our kilesas are Maras. In Buddhism, there are 5 Maras. 5 Maras. The first one is Kandamara. Kandamara means we all carry 5 aggregates. Right? We all carry 5 aggregates. What are they? Rupa Kanda, Vedana Kanda, Sanya Kanda, Sankhara Kanda, Vijnana. Even as animal carries these 5. Even a snake also carries these 5. Even a small tiny creature also carries these 5. So because we carry these 5, we are called as Maras in our own interest. So there are 5 Maras. The first Mara is Chandima. I think I already shared with you sometime. Perhaps remember or not. Second Mara is Kilesa Mara. Now when we carry 5 aggregates, then what happens? We are going through certain mental states. So when we have to deal with the mental states, there comes kilesas. Kilesas mean influxes, which means raga, dosa, moha, right? All these mental states are coming to us, mostly the negative ones. So because they are influxing towards us, we have to take care of us, because at a certain point they can take us over rather than we can take them over. So because we have to always deal with the kilesas, it is said that we are carrying another Mara within us. Now at this moment, we are 2 Maras because we are created by the Maras. We are created by Maras. How do I say so? My good karma, bad karma made me to live in this sansara. So I am in the interest of the Mara. If so, I carry 1 Mara because I have 5 aggregates, and I carry the second Mara within me because I carry the opportunity of the kilesas to operate within me. And the third Mara is called Abhisankara Mara. Now I have 5 aggregates. I have many kilesas to deal with. Thereby, I am creating good karma, bad karma, mixed karma. So karma means sankara. So then I carry some Abhisankara Mara. That means we individually carry 3 Maras. Kandamara, Kilesamara, Abhisankara. Then the 4th Mara is called Machumara. Machumara means somebody can say this could be Yama, or this could be because I was reborn already, then I'm living, and one day I have to pass away. So my life itself includes a death. Death is not beyond my life. A lot of people think that death is something that is beyond life. No, it's a part of life. I have to die. I have to embrace the death. It's not beyond my life. It is part of my life. When I understand that death is a part of my life, it is also another Mara because I have to die. Because Buddha's idea is that you should not die. Amarana, Bayatini Nibbana, you will not die, you will not be reborn. So there are 4 Maras that are being carried out by our own interest, our sansaric life. The 5th Mara is called what we call Devaputta Mara. This is an individual. Devaputta Mara is the Mara who lives in the 2 heavens, the highest heavens, Nimmana Rati and Paranimita Vasavati. All right, Nimmana Rati and Paranimita Vasavati. So, so this is an individual. So what we understand is that this is the Mara, Vasavati Mara, who troubled the Buddha. If so, he was an individual. So the answer to this question here, were the Maras real? Yes, they are real. I would say Mara is real, and there are Maras in his heavens, Nimmana Rati Paranimita Vasavati, and they can be physically present. And at the same time, Mara's armies are working as mental states. Now, let's say I have my hunger, then my hunger works as an army of the Mara. It is within me. So it is mostly as a person. It is said that those people who are doing good karmas with a lot of expectations, and then they are going to be reborn in Nimmana Rati and Paranimita Vasavati and work for the Mara. So when you do good karmas, don't keep a lot of strings attached to your good karmas, and then you're going to be a potential Mara. Prepare for becoming a Mara one day. Otherwise, someone might ask, hey, how come a Mara is a Deva? Because all the people who become Mara, including the Vasavati Mara, Devaputta Mara, have done good karmas, but with strings attached to those good karmas. That's why. So the answer to the question is yes, he's a person and his followers and his army, his soldiers working within us as mental states. There were 72 Buddhas before this Samma Sambuddha. 72 Buddhas. Are they real persons or fables? Did they attain enlightenment? Why is it that we don't know much about them except the Samma Sambuddha? Actually, we don't say that there were 72 Buddhas. We say 28 Buddhas, including the Gautama Buddha. But what happened before the first Buddha, Tanankara Buddha? How many of you have chanted the very famous 28 Buddha chanting? Tanankaro Mahaviro, Medankaro Mahayaso, Sarnankaro Loka. So and so forth. Now, according to this sutta, we only pick up 28 Buddhas, 27 to the back. Does it mean Tanankara Buddha is the first one? No. We only take 28 Buddhas just for our easy reference. Then who gave the precise statement to Tanankara Buddha? There should be another Buddha, right? Who told? Now, the Maitreya Buddha, he got the precise statement from the Gautama Buddha when he came to Sankassa from the heaven, right? Tavatins. And he said, this gentleman will become the next Buddha, Maitreya Buddha. So who gave this precise statement, Niyata Vyakarana, to the Tanankara Buddha? There must have been many Buddhas, Samma Sambuddhas before Tanankara Buddha, right? So it is not 72. It could be more than 72. It could be a number that we can't even think of. Why they are not very visible to all of us? Because it is not necessary. There's no point of thinking about the names of all these Buddhas. Plus, if you go to a vihara, if you see 28 Buddha, they are same Buddha statues, right? Same nose, same ears, right? Same face. Why? So we have the same problem in showcasing the Buddhas in the temples. So it is because it is not important to go back to many Buddhas as early as we could see. But what we know is, for the easy reference for our Dhamma practice, we only pick up 27 Buddhas before the Shakyamuni Buddha. Please save your questions if you have questions. I'm going to cover up these questions before we spend a lot of time. Right, 11. All right, this question has two parts. Okay, the first part is, I think the quote is from Gautami Sutta, Anguttara Nikaya 8.51. The first principles of respect. See again. A nun, even if she has been ordained for 100 years, should bow down to a monk who was ordained that very day. I think higher ordained, not just ordained. Huh? Higher ordained. She should rise up for him, greet him with joint palms, and observe proper etiquette towards him. This principle should be honored, respected, esteemed, and venerated, and not transgressed so long as life lasts. Okay. And the next question, I think something closer to this. Is the following phrase in Gautami Sutta, same sutta, truly spoken by the Buddha? Or do you think it's later insertion by the translator? I'm doubtful that Buddha actually spoke this phrase because the true teachings has remained for more than 2,500 years now. Ananda, if females had not gained the going forth, papaja, from the lay life to the becoming nuns, in the teaching and training proclaimed by the Buddha, our spiritual life would have lasted long. The true teaching would have remained for 1,000 years. But since they have gained the going forth, papaja, now the spiritual life will not last long. The true teaching will remain only 500 years. First of all, I'm thankful that you found this from somewhere in the sutras, that you found this out. Okay. I want to give you caution with this question. The question is a very good question. The caution is that when you read the sutras, you should consult a good teacher. Why is it? Who maintained and preserved the sutras? Monks. Mostly in the first phase, they were arahants. Then there were unenlightened monks. So when the preservation went onto the hands of the unenlightened monks, there were Brahmins who became monks from high caste in India. And sometimes some of the preservations went to the hands of unenlightened monks who came from the lower caste. So there was a struggle between these two always. If you look at some of the suttas, like Asalayana Sutta in the Majjhima Nikaya, the Brahmana Vaka, there is a clear scathing attack on the Brahmins. It is said that the Brahmins are even not worse than the dogs. Brahmins are going on to their wives in a very bad way, worse than the dogs. So when we look at these suttas, we come to think that really, looking at the Karani Metta Sutta and all these unbounded, what you call, illimitables, Metta Karuna Metta Upekkha perspectives, how did Buddha talk like this? Did he want to talk in that tone? It clearly shows that in certain places, I'm not saying everywhere, in certain places, some of the suttas have to be understood with a proper understanding of many other suttas. So we should have a prior knowledge of many suttas. At the same time, we have to understand the social situation of that time as well. So don't just try to digest everything you see on a sutta right away without consulting a teacher or without consulting someone who has a thorough reading of many suttas. So I would say this question, now the 2 points you are making, if there is a bhikkhuni who has been there for 100 years, I think it's a very rare chance. There is a bhikkhuni for 100 years after becoming a bhikkhuni. I think it has gone to a very ideal kind of thinking that she has to respect the monk. What is the point of this? Now we understand Buddha was talking Dhamma in a society where women were thoroughly scorned, insulted. So one of my thoughts about this statement could be that he wanted to show that the Brahmins that I am going to keep up with the society that you are making, because he could not be very, very, what you call, rebellious at that point. This is one hindsight that I can have. On the other hand, as you suggest, this could be an insertion about the woman, because now we see all these suttas from a society where we see some amount of equality between man and woman. So what do you think about two societies? Do you think the Buddha society and today's society, they were equal? They are equal? No, they are not equal. Even in Sri Lanka, even for a, I think, how do they call it? Sil Mata cannot get an identity card, even today. What about the bhikkhuni? Sil Mata is not a properly ordained bhikkhuni. The Sangha is rejecting. They are not giving for different reasons, politically different reasons. I mean, whatever their own reason. They might think that in different ways. But when you look at from a modern point of understanding that, what is the problem for a woman to attain Nibbana? There's no problem. So by not understanding this particular thing, if we go to the Buddha's time and trying to understand this statement, it's not a good idea. So I think you don't have to worry about these two phrases. So your enlightenment, your awakening can be done in your self-practice, and you don't have to become a part of many at this point. I don't think so. So there could be two things that I can think about. One thing is that probably the Buddha was trying to tell the Brahmins that he's not going to be very rebellious in the society and then teaching. That's why he rejected, right? First time, second time. Now, he is rejecting for 2 times. And just because Bhante Ananda requesting him, he said, okay. So that then Bhante Ananda is more foreseeable than him, more wise than him, right? Why can't he foresee that? If he has the Sabbanyut, the omniscience, why can't he see it? So this means probably the stories that we see, even the story that Buddha rejected first time, he rejected for the second time, and only because of Bhante Ananda, he let this happen. This means the person who is coining this idea is saying that it is a problem, but Buddha also knew, and he did not grant it. Right? So the veracity and authenticity of these stories have to be done. But anyways, my understanding, we don't have to worry about anything. We don't have to blame anyone. You have your own, what you call, self-practice, and you know where you can go, how far you can go in your Dhamma practice. So these two statements, they were given either to keep up with the society, or they could have been inserted by later on because of unenlightened people. But not all the suttas, right? That's why you need to ask this from a teacher who has a certain thorough understanding. Otherwise, we might say this sutta is okay, this sutta is bad. This is right, this is bad. We can't go on that kind of a very scathing attack on the suttas. But we understand certain social things about suttas in a particular way. That's why you don't have to worry about these two. So the answer is that please carry on your practice. Some of the suttas have some certain situations we have to understand based on the social status. Right? Did Siddhartha follow the tradition of having more than one wife? I think in Lalita Vistara and Mahavastu biographies, they have different suggestions for that. But in the Pali tradition, we don't see that. But it is said that he enjoyed the harem. One of the reasons why he left the palace was that he saw the female dancers were actually playing the whole night, and then he suddenly woke up and he saw how was the situation by that time. So that was one of the things that he would have thought. But we don't see that he had somebody other than Yashodhara, because he was so faithful to him, to her, because it's been like more than 500 lifetimes that they've been together. So he just kept up with the royal activities in the palace. So otherwise, we don't see any particular person other than Yashodhara. When the Buddha returned to his hometown after his enlightenment, it was said that Yashodhara did not come out of her room to greet him. Instead, the Buddha went to her room. Was Yashodhara angry or with the Buddha for leaving her and their newborn child? Yeah. Another good question. Yashodhara was not angry. She's a wise woman. She's not a normal person. She understood why he left. That's why when the Prince Siddhartha left the house, he was eagerly hearing what he's doing. He heard that Prince Siddhartha now became an ascetic, and then he shaved his hair. So she also shaved her hair, and she heard that Prince Siddhartha is wearing saffron clothes, and she also changed to saffron clothes. And she heard that he is eating one time of the day. She also started practicing eating one time. So she was fully faithful. Even he left the house. So this means that rather than an anger, she could not understand the larger, broader picture of what was happening. And then she expected that Buddha would appreciate her sacrifice. That's why when the Buddha came to Kapilavatthu, she did not turn up with the king. So what happened was that she was in the chamber, and then the Buddha went there with Bhante Ananda, and then she started crying a lot. He didn't say anything. He understands the pain, and she started explaining how she spent the time, like I said earlier, how she changed to his way of life. Then the Buddha said, I am not surprised, because you've been faithful to me for 500 lifetimes. And I will tell you the first lifetime we fell in love, that was Chanda Kinnara Jataka story, where one king shot me just to take you to his side, but you did not tolerate that. Ever since, we've been loving each other, and you've been doing the same thing in this last life. So he wanted to tell Yashodhara that I understand your sacrifice for many lifetimes. I'm not surprised. So it is not because Yashodhara is angry. Yashodhara was having a time of separation. At the same time, she wanted to show the Buddha her sacrifice. And then what happened? The Buddha acknowledged that. Not even that, even Mahapajapati Gautami, after becoming an Arahant, she, when she came to the Buddha to see off, Buddha also went with her, right? He also went with her. She's her mother in a way, right? And she said in the Terigata, I breastfed you, but you gave me the milk of the Dhamma. I gave you the physical milk, and you gave me the milk of the Dhamma. And then after she said all that, Buddha also went. He has never gone after anybody. He has only gone with Pajapati Theri to respect. So this is a part of the respect sacrifice. Yashodhara stayed in the chamber, not because she's angry. Who wrote the suttas and when? How do we know they are the Buddha's true words? All right, very interesting question. Nobody wrote the suttas. What happened when Buddha passed away? After 3 months of his passing away, Arahant Mahakashyapa and other monks, they started doing a Sangayana. So he asked Bhante Ananda to become an Arahant and then to narrate everything he heard under the Buddha. So what happened then? Then the teachings of the Buddha were primarily only Dhamma and Vinaya, Dhamma part and Vinaya part. Then, as time goes, by the time of King Ashoka, Dharma Ashoka, what happened? There was an urge to explain more Dhamma teachings in a different set of books. We call them as Abhidhamma. Abhidhamma was not available at the Buddha's time in that name. It was just Dhamma. And then what happened? So this tradition has been in the oral tradition, memorizing the Sutta and the Vinaya. They have been going through like this for many years. When it came to Sri Lanka, early centuries, then what happened? At the time of King Walagamba, in a temple called Aluvihara in Matale, in one of the central province, north central provinces area, in this temple, the monks thought, we are going to write down this oral memorization onto the Ola leaves. That is how they were written as Ola manuscripts. But now, according to the scholars, we don't have those manuscripts. The earliest Pali manuscript we have is the 13th century, the kingdom of Dambadeni. So it's not. So this means long time ago. So they say the Portuguese came and then they burn all, set fire to all these. And the Ola manuscript cannot stay longer as well. There are many reasons. Scholars have different opinions about that. But anyways, suttas and Vinaya, they were not prepared a long time after the Buddha. They were picked up to memorize right after the Buddha's passing. Right. This is what we understand about Sutta. And how do we know they are Buddha's true words? It's a very good question. Now, just now I discussed about that question about the lady's ordination. In order for us to understand whether the Sutta is authentic or having some issues, we have to read many suttas. At the same time, we have to approach good teachers. And we also need to bring common sense. We also need to understand thinking, bring a lot of wisdom. Then only we can think about the contents of some suttas, but we don't have problem with many larger suttas. So how authentic, how correct is something depends on how you are going to understand the sutta, especially from a good source. Nowadays, there are different versions of the suttas, so be careful. Find out a true text of the sutras. The Buddha was a man, so should we believe everything we read about, hear about the Buddha, even if it seems unreal? I don't think so. Now, if the Buddha's statue is made by the Gandhara and Mathura, adding the Greek goddesses, so we have questions about it. So you don't have to argue with somebody about it. So you have to do yourself investigation about the Buddha. He himself told us in the Vimansaka Sutta, Majjhima Nikaya, in the Majjhima Nikaya's Vimansaka, you have to check my Tathagatahood, my Buddhahood. How can we do that? Are we in that place to do it? We can't do that. But he is asking us to check even his Samma Sambuddha, such a very humble person. That means accepting without doing a verification is not our way. Let's do in our own way. If things are still unclear, let's approach someone who has a better understanding. And sometimes it takes longer to understand these things. Now, say for instance, if you listen to a Dhamma talk 10 years ago by someone, maybe a Bhante, or whoever Dhamma speaker, you are again going to watch the same Dhamma talk. Aren't you getting some more insights from that Dhamma talk? Now 10 years gap, huh? You watch in probably 2010, now 2024. Yes, why? Is it because of the Dhamma talk's problem? It is our problem, because our understanding has not been broad enough to understand what he's talking about. He's talking probably a high bar of things. So we learn. So I think definitely you need to do your own search. Don't argue with anybody. Do your own search, approach the good teachers, self-practice, and then all these things will help you to understand. Other than that, there is no such thing called we must believe. Don't believe anything without doing a certain verification, certain understanding. Where is the Buddha after his Parinibbana? Actually, this question was a question Buddha himself set aside, put aside. He said, I'm not going to answer this question. So I said as well. He said there are 10 questions he never answered. Have you ever heard those 10 questions? 10 questions. We call them avyakruta. When someone asks from the Buddha, will you be reborn? He will never answer because it's a fact that he will not be reborn. The physical Buddha is gone away already. But from the later traditions, we understand Amitabha Buddha, who's living in the pure lands, it is said that he is the meditative form of the Buddha. He's still living on to them. But the physical human Buddha, Shakyamuni Buddha, already passed away. There's no rebirth for him. 18. It's a long question. See, did the Buddha usually reject his, did the Buddha actually reject his stepmother's request for renunciation as a bhikkhuni, or is it implied translation? Yeah, that's what I was telling you, right? So the bhikkhuni khandaka in the Vinaya Pitaka, and the sutta that another person asked over here from the Gautami Sutta. So we cannot say exactly how they were inserted. Why it was such hard for Buddha to say yes or no at that point. So there could have been a couple of reasons. Maybe the social situation, probably insertions. What's the real reason of the rejection, if that is true? Why did he subsequently approve the going for final? While the Buddha has approved the very first bhikkhuni ordination without any prior female sangha, why then the subsequent sangha in the 21st century refer to these ancient precedents after the bhikkhuni order was lapsed and recommends the said bhikkhuni? Right now, when you talk about the modern sangha, they have no choice of not doing it. Right now in Sri Lanka, there is a monk who is supporting this idea, and then there are many monks in the United States. They are supporting higher ordering, but the problem is not the main Theravada countries. Sri Lankan main Theravada tradition, the Thai main Theravada tradition, Burmese main Theravada tradition, they never grant this permission. That is up to them. I'm not going to question the Sangha's jurisdiction. So what I'm saying is that now you can think about Vinaya talks about something, the modern some Sangha doing something, and the ancient Sangha orders in some countries do another thing. So it's something that we have to understand with our own common sense what's going on here. So rather than putting everything together and thinking about why it is not happening, but still, women, the bhikkhunis have a path. They can actually go and become a monk, become a nun, and then become higher ordained. So the problem is in their different ways of functioning within their institutions. But according to the Bhikkhuni Khandaka, we don't see any problem for this. There is no problem for a female to become ordained and higher ordained. The problem is coming from this, what you call patriarchal, male-dominated sites. And at the same time, I'm not going to pick up certain countries. They have their own politics. And because of that, things have halted in them. But you have ways to go and become a nun. So there is no problem for that. Okay, I think last two questions. Is there any sutta that discloses the remaining defilements better that the Buddha still faced before he attained Nibbana? What is the sutta? If yes, actually, if you search Maha Satchaka Sutta Majjhima Nikaya 36, write it down. Maha Satchaka Sutta. Maha Satchaka Sutta Majjhima Nikaya 36. This sutta, this sutta will tell you how he went through, how he tackled and dealt with all the remaining defilements. Actually, he almost what you call gave up all the asavas just before he became the Buddha in the last watch of his morning. Actually, as I said to you, first watch he came to Bubbhidhimasamsati Jnana, second watch Chuttapapata Jnana, and in the third watch he became the Samma Sambuddha by removing all the rest of the asravas. So that's a sutta. All right, last question is, why do we need to learn the life of the Buddha? Is it a very interesting question? Why? Someone might say, why? Because I go and learn some suttas. I do my meditation. Why do I have to learn Buddha's life? Why is it? I always tell people, you should learn the life of the Buddha because he is our teacher. Because when you learn about the teacher in the proper way, like in today's discussion, we are becoming more grateful to his time. Because gratitude is the first state of mind, the most important quality in our Dhamma practice. Otherwise, we will learn, and our Dhamma will not go to the heart. Our Dhamma knowledge will only stay at our brain level. In order for our Dhamma knowledge to go to the heart, it is better to learn the life of the Buddha, not only on the Vesak day, all right? We are not going to be good on a certain time specific day. As the followers of the Buddha, we have to be the same 365, 24/7. On a specific day, we're going to do additional things. So it is very important because this is the way how we are grateful to his time. And that gratitude will help us to bring the Dhamma into our heart. That is why it is very important. All right, any more questions for today that you came up during the time? So we have probably 9-10 minutes of time. You can raise the virtual hand, pick it up. Any question about the life of the Buddha? Okay, Indra. Yes, Indra.
Bhante, earlier on, you explained about, or the question was about a life of Buddha Shasana, and
Yes.
but somewhere I had read about 10,000. And Buddha said after ordinating Prajapati, the Sasana will halve. That means it will be 5,000 years.
Yeah.
So could you explain on that, please, Bhante?
I think that is the other half of that question. Now we are looking at this from the modern day. I think if you look at it from a modern day perspective, I don't think this is something we have to worry about. If you look at most of the suttas, the woman has been a female has been categorized as an object of impurity for the monks. This has happened everywhere. If you look at many suttas, I think most of the suttas in Anguttara Nikaya, you see that they are a hindrance to someone's purity. But the problem is, on certain occasions, it has been taken as the Brahmins, it has been taken as the lower caste, then the woman. These three objects have been insulted, probably abused in some places. So my understanding is that this particular statement about that Buddha Sasana was supposed to have 10,000 now, just because the female were granted the ordination, it was cut half. This statement could have come into the text because of that antagonist idea of the females. So this is another place that I ask you to take caution about the text. It could be an insertion, it could be a personal idea. I don't think that the Buddha could have added that kind of a thing, because what can women do to the Buddha Sasana? How are they going to destroy it? Right? And also, how are monks going to destroy the Buddha Sasana? Just think about it from the monk side. What can they do? Nobody can do anything for Buddha Sasana. Only by the practice you can either help out the Buddha Sasana or not help out the Buddha Sasana. So I think this is purely an attack on certain genders. I don't think that this has to be accepted, which was given by the Buddha. So once again, I ask you to think about suttas. Don't digest just by reading all the suttas. Always consult. Otherwise, you will take them right away. So this sutta, to my understanding, for somebody like the Buddha, who might have not said something like this because he understands that nobody can destroy the Buddha Sasana. Think about in India, the Mughals came from Arab and they destroyed Nalanda University. 12,000 monks were killed while they were taking Pindapata. Did the Buddha Sasana vanish? I don't think. It's not because of the certain individuals operating in it. So even if we cannot take it from the monk side, I don't think we can't take it from the people.
You don't come here, you go out. Hercules?
Yes. So the answer to this question is that this could have been a certain insertion, to my understanding, and a female cannot destroy this. Even a monk cannot destroy this. It is the practice.
Thank you, Bhante.
Yes. All right. Still have time. Any questions?
Bhante,
Yes, Ken.
I think there's one more question that was posted only today just now.
Really? Okay, let me see.
Quite a long one.
Right.
What happened during Asoka regime when Muslim conquered and mass killed monks and nuns? From that time onwards, none had been annihilated. No
Yeah.
nun.
What happened during King Ashoka regime when Muslim conquered and mass killed monks and nuns? Actually, it is after Ashoka's time. From that time onwards, none had been annihilated. No nun left after that period. A nun need to have 10 vasa to be qualified to ordain a new bhikkhuni. Since they had been annihilated, hence all bhikkhuni now did not ordain rules. cannot represent some. I think it's a mixture of many aspects, Ashoka and then Vinerus and many things. So what I can say is, how to look at this question. I think fundamentally Muslims did not attack India during the time of Ashoka. Ashoka was very powerful. Ashoka was supported by Bactrians. You know Bactria? It's a country at that time, very powerful. And the Greeks. Greece and Bactria highly supported Indian Ashoka. But when Ashoka's lineage was taken over by a certain marshal, then things went on a slippery slope. So the not Muslims, we cannot say Muslim attack. I would say there was an attack by a certain person headed from Arab, and then so what happened was that yes, so they attacked Nalanda University, and then they killed 12,000 monks. Well, there may have been nuns, we don't know, because we understand bhikkhunis have been operating in Sanskrit, that means early India. So they have been operating. Now you are talking from a Theravada perspective, 10 Vasa and all that. So what's your question at the end? Since they had been annihilated, since all bhikkhuni now did not ordain. I think the what you call the break of the bhikkhuni sasana has different ideas, but the idea is that when you come to today's 21st century, we don't have any problems from different religious people. So the problem is within certain institutions, but amidst all these problems, still you have an opportunity to go and then become a nun if you really want to. So otherwise, I don't think these historical points have any problems. All right. Any more questions for today?
Bhante,
Who is that actually?
Kim,
Kim. Yes, Kim, please.
Bhante, you
Yes.
mentioned several suttas during today's lesson.
Yeah.
Do you mind to give us the list of all those suttas so that we can refer? Because I didn't manage to capture all the suttas that you mentioned. Yeah.
Yes.
Please.
Can I post them in the WhatsApp group?
Yes, please. Thank you very much.
So we save the time. And Melinda, you have a question? Melinda. Yes. I think we can't hear you. Yes. Still, we can't hear you, I think. Can you please unmute? Yeah.
Cannot hear you. Unmute.
Yeah, please go ahead. Still not. Yeah, I think you are still on mute. Can you please unmute? Yes. Yeah, we can't hear you. Anybody else? Any questions? Yes. Melinda, you can type in the question here if you want in the chat. I can pick it up. We'll take 1 more minute. Okay, there's another question. This question may be out of topic, but a bit related. Can a lay woman be ordained if herself feeling like their body condition being burdened? The Sangha, even that there is a strong urge to go in. Can a lay woman be ordained if herself feeling like their body condition? The Sangha, even that there is a strong urge to. Can you probably make it a little simple? A little complicated, yes. All right, anybody else, please?
Bhante, I think there's another question by Sister Puile. Yeah, Puile in the
Is
chat.
It in the
chat?
Zoom chat?
Yes, yes.
Bhante. Oh yeah, the life of the Buddha is filled with can be filled. I don't say it's filled. Yeah, legends, mystical incidences, and reality. How can we differentiate what is myth, legend, mystical, reality? Okay. First of all, we should be able to read all the accounts of the Buddha's biography. There are a couple suttas, that is number one. Number two is to look at the social situations of the 6 BCE, the time Buddha lived. We have to study about them. Third thing is that reading other suttas to understand about the Buddha. And finally, using common sense and our understanding today about how things can happen. So all these things, ways help us to understand whether this can be a myth or legend or a fact. I think, Shirley, your question to, if I understand this correctly, this could be that a lay woman can, is it possible for a lay woman to ordain if she feels her body has a certain condition? Is it something like that? Is it what you're asking? Maybe you can ask the question directly here.
Bhante,
Yes, Lynn. I'll come to Anya. Yes, Lynn, please go ahead. Yeah.
Sorry, Bhante, can you repeat?
Yes. Yes, please go ahead. Yeah, can you unmute, please?
I think Sister Jenny can go first.
Sister Annie can go first. Okay, good. Yes, Sister Annie, please.
yeah, just referring to her question, I reckon maybe it's talking about a person who has ill health.
Uh-huh.
Ill health, or maybe there is some deformity. I'm not sure. Maybe that is what you referring to, Sister Sumana.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay. Yes. Yes, but what's the problem? I understand there's someone who has ill health, and then what's the problem with that? No.
Health, meaning that they might burden the sasana if they have to, incur a medication or incur expenses.
Uh-huh.
That kind of worry.
I see.
Probably.
I see. Is it a burden to the Sangha? Maybe the community of Sangha,
Yes.
if they go to become nuns?
Yes.
I think, okay, at that point, that person can look for a place where they have support within the Sangha community. There are places where they take care of, Sangha members who have some medical issues. That is one thing they can do. And not become let's say you go to a very, a place where devotees cannot take care of you at that point. And you are bringing a lot of burden to them, right? So that person, if you are still a lay person, can think about where to go to become a nun. If you have a medical condition, discuss with the head bhikkhuni, and then to have some plans, and then to make that decision. It's always possible. All right, let's take one more question, and then we'll wrap this up today. Our special discussion. Yes, Christine, please.
May I ask, I got
Yes.
confused because recently I heard that there is Bhante said that they are from the lines from the Arya Sangha. That means during the masquerade, most of the nuns, either they have been renunciation or they have been killed. So at that time, no nun was continuing the bhikkhunis, and that why I asked this question, because he said that the nun that ordained right now, we shouldn't pay respect to them because they are not represent Sangha community. So I feel sad when I heard that. So is that true or it's not true? Because they said they are from Arya Sangha.
Oh.
They know that this thing happened, and they are very sure there's no nun was left after that. Yeah, that's all. Okay, thank you.
I'm pretty sure that even the Bhikkhuni Sangha members, they had gone through a lot of hardships when the foreign attacks happened on Indian soil from those people who were attacking Indian cultures. So there were a lot of Bhikkhuni members. Probably they did a lot of things to preserve the Sasana at that time. But now the problem is not about India. Now the Buddhism has gone out of India. There's no Buddhism that we see like in Sri Lanka, Thailand, Burma. That Buddhism you don't see in India at this point, that kind of Buddhism. So the problem is now, how do the Sangha members, those head Sangha members, those hierarchical Sangha members with their, institutions, carry the future of the Sangha onto the future, right? So this is the problem. So that is where they have to consider the sacrifices these Bhikkhuni members, even the Bhikkhu members must have done in the past. But I don't think they are reckoned in that way, for whatever the reason. I hope, I urge that they can see this. Yeah, definitely. They all been a group. They had protected the Sasana, the material Sasana and the spiritual Sasana. Sister Melinda, would you like to try again? Give you one more time. If not, yes, please go ahead. We don't hear you for some reasons. It's okay. Maybe I can answer you later. All right, Dhamma folks, very happy to see all of you. And we had a very wonderful Q&A today, Life of the Buddha. I simply wanted to do this as the main activity for the Vesak from Patisota. And then we've been discussing a lot of Pali text for the last many weeks, I think from last June time. And today we discussed about the life of the Buddha from different angles. We did not disrespect anybody. What we wanted to understand is we want to understand the truth. And then we don't want to criticize anyone. We just want to understand what the Buddha's life is in the true context. That is our plan. Be that a myth, be that a legend, in whatever the way, but we would like to see it in a way, because the importance of learning the life of the Buddha is to be grateful to the Buddha. The more we grateful to the Buddha, the better, and then the faster, and then the more progressive we are in our Dhamma journey. So by saying that, now we are going to the transferring of the good karmas. May all the good karmas we've been making today by learning, discussing, engaging in this Q&A session about the life of the Buddha be transferred to all the departed ones who passed away in the name of all of us. May they be well and happy. If they were reborn in a place of unhappiness, may they be able to be reborn in a place of happiness. If they are reborn in a place of happiness, may they be able to grow in that happiness, improve that happiness, and finally attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Idam me nyati nang hotu sukhita huntu nyatayo. Idam me nyati nang hotu sukhita huntu nyatayo. Idam me nyati nang hotu sukhita huntu nyatayo. At the same time, let's share all these good karmas with the Deva, Naga, Mahindika. Be well and happy. May they protect and bless all of us for good health, quality of life, prosperity, and safety. May they, in particular, bless all your Dhamma journey. May your Dhamma journeys become very smooth, seamless Dhamma journey, not a stagnated Dhamma journey. Finally, may Devanaga Mahindika also attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Ettavatacha ammehi sambhatang punya sankadam. Sabbe deva anumodantu sabbasang patti siddhya. Ettavatacha ammehi sambhatang punya sankadam. Sabbe bhutha anumodantu sabbasang patti siddhya. Ettavatacha ammehi sambhatang punya sankadam. Sabbe sattha anumodantu sabbasang patti siddhya. Akasattha chibummattha devanaga mahindika punyantang anumoditva chirang rakkhang tulokasasana. Akasattha Chibhumattha Devanaga Mahidika Punyantang Anumoditva Chirang Rakhantu Desanam Akasattha Chibhumattha Devanaga Mahidika Punyantang Anumoditva Chirang Rakhantu Man Paranti Chirang Rakhantu Man Sadamati. Also, we are making a great wish at the end of all our good karmas. It's about being surrounded by Kalyanamittas. Kalyanamittas do make a change in our Dhamma journey. A solo Dhamma practice is not always going to be working out. So we need Kalyanamittas to be surrounded by us. May we be in the company of Kalyanamittas all along samsaric journey till we attain Nibbana. Thinking thus, we are going to make the wish. Imina punya kammena mami bala samagam satang samagamu yavanimbana patya. Finally, may all the good karmas which we've been making today on this Vesak time be supportive and helpful for all of us to attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Abhivadana siddhissa nichang vaddha pachayino chattaru dhamma vaddhanti ayuvano sukhang balam ayurarogya sampatti sagga sampatti mevacha ato nibbana sampatti iminate samicchati. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. With that wish, we are going to wrap this up from today and wishing you a very good night and at the same time wishing you a happy Vesak time to do your all the good activities, good karmas. Thank you, everybody. Good night, everyone. Take care.
Thank you, Bhante.
Bhante.
Thank you.
Thank you for the
Bhante. Good night,
Dhamma.
everyone.
Thank you, Bhante. Good night,
Thank you.
everyone.
Bhante.
Thank you,
Sadhu,
Bhante.
sadhu,
Thank you,
sadhu.
Bhante.
Thank you, Bhante.
Thank you, Bhante.
Bhante,
Vesak, Bhante.
See you.
Thank you, Bhante. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Good night and take care.
Good night,
Bhante and
everyone.
everybody.
Good night,
Sadhu, Bhante.
Thank you.
See you next.
Yes, see you. Thank you.